Welcome to the Wealth and Wellness All Women Rock podcast, hosted by me, Tamara, the CEO and founder of All Women Rock Global. Join me on this journey as we explore topics, conversations, and interviews related to wealth and wellness. Let's get started. Hey girl, hey. Welcome back to another episode of the Wealth and Wellness podcast. I'm so excited to be with each and every one of you. I have been gone for a brief moment, but I am back. Maybe one day I'll be able to share with you why I was on a brief hiatus, but I am back. Again, thank you so much for sticking with me and tuning in for another episode of the Wealth and Wellness podcast by All Women Rock Global. On today's episode, we were talking all things wealth with the beautiful Julie DeLucca-Collins. And her business is Go Confidently Coaching. Before I get started with sharing more about her, I did want to tell you about a new segment we are going to introduce with the Wealth and Wellness podcast. It's called Meeting in the Ladies' Room. And I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there was a song many years ago that I'm not sure if that's the exact title of it, but it was called Meeting in the Ladies' Room. So during this time, it'll be like maybe 10 to 15 minutes. It's just a new quick segment that we're adding to the Wealth and Wellness podcast. We're not taking away the Wealth and Wellness interviews, but we're just adding a little something different. Meeting in the Ladies' Room. 10 to 15 minutes where we talk about basically anything. Nothing will be off topics. If you know, when you're out with your girls, your friends, and you go to the bathroom, no topic is off limits. So during this time together, we're going to talk, we're going to get ourselves together, and we're going to head back out. So I'm so excited to share this new segment we will have with the Wealth and Wellness podcast, Meeting in the Ladies' Room. We'll go ahead and get started with today's episode featuring Julie DeLucca-Collins. Julie DeLucca-Collins is the founder and CEO of Go Confidently Services, the host of the popular Casa de Confidence podcast and her weekly radio show, Confident You, featured on a global talk radio network. As a business and life strategist coach, Julie helps women, business owners launch or grow their businesses, get clients, be productive, and achieve their dreams. Julie helps her clients create simple habits to achieve goals and change lives. Julie is also the best-selling author of the newly released book, Confident You, Simple Habits to Live the Life You Imagine. Julie is a sought-after public speaker, trainer, and course creator. She is certified as a coach in cognitive behavioral techniques, holistic coach, and tiny habits. She is also certified as a social emotional learning facilitator and has completed her 200-hour yoga teacher certification. Julie enjoys helping her clients build mental fitness, improve their mindset to be at peace, and improve peak performance. Julie has been honored with the 25 Most Minority Women in Business Award by the Minority Enterprise Executive Council in Washington, D.C. Julie and her podcast co-host producer husband Dan reside in Vernon, Connecticut with their fur babies, Yoga Bear, Junior, and Simba. Oh, I absolutely love those names. I love fur babies. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share our interview with Julie where we talk all things wealth. And we got a little bit into the wellness too. There were some great, powerful nuggets I was able to take during this interview with her. And I won't keep you guys any longer. So let's take a listen. All right. We are back with the Wealth and Wellness podcast by All Women Rock. And on today's episode, we have the beautiful Julie DeLucca-Collins. Thank you so much for being a part of the Wealth and Wellness podcast.
Thank you, Tamara, for having me. Wealth and wellness. You know, I believe that those two go hand in hand.
They do. They do. And each one of us, as I always say, we have a different journey of building wealth in our lives, in our business, in our family, as well as wellness. It doesn't look the same for all of us. So it's imperative that we do the podcast where we can bring different women and men on the podcast to share their journey, maybe building a business or just how they were able to navigate building wellness within their lives or their business.
Yeah,
So,
I love what you're doing, and I think that it's so needed that there are voices like yours that are bringing this message because many women in particular, we feel like we're the only ones going through something. And
hmm
it's important to really be open and honest and 100% upfront with people and say, hey, this is my struggle because one, people can come alongside you, or they might be able to say, I went through that as well.
hmm
And then you don't feel alone.
Yep, that's so true. I was actually speaking with one of my mastermind members on yesterday, and I was telling him about something that I'm another coaching, well, not necessarily coaching, but workshop I want to do with All Women Rock. And I was like, I'm gonna just be vulnerable and share, my experiences of life and being a mother, being a wife,
Mm.
and just kind of just want to throw in the towel of all of it. He was like, Tamara, you don't know how much that is needed. You've held on that for so long, and there's so many
Yeah.
women that's probably right now that kind of needs those workshops.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep. So we'll go ahead and get started. I
let's
love the
do it.
name of your business, Go Confidently with Julie. What I want to know, I want to kind of go back. What
Yeah.
inspired you to kind of get started with entrepreneurship?
I think I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12.
I love it.
And I know that a lot of people say that, but my first little hustle that I had going on was at 12 years old. And I knew that I just like oh, maybe we should do this. And this is a good way to make money. But I went into education and then I went the route into the corporate America world. And that was great. I enjoyed it. One of the things that comes very naturally to me is if you say, hey, I was thinking of, making some greeting cards and do you think someone would like them? And I'm thinking of maybe making them this way. And then all of a sudden my brain just kind of goes to like, oh, and the type of business cards that you want to do kind of like, and my brain kind of formulates a plan and I'm very strategic that way. And it's one of the reasons why I was very successful in corporate America. And I climbed all the way up to the corporate C-suite, right? I was in the big boardroom. I was chief innovation officer for a company, worked for a company. We made millions of dollars. But throughout that journey, I always had like some sort of side hustle going, number one. Number two, I always had friends that say, hey, I want to start a business, but I don't know anything about business. Can you help me? And I would come alongside them and give them advice, help them, encourage them, do what I could for them. And then at one point, I started working with a coach. I went through a divorce and I started working with a coach, and really it helped me so much just throughout my life that I knew that I wanted to get a coaching certification. One, mainly to help me to be able to coach myself in my mindset and continue to grow in my personal development. And that's when I got my coaching certification. And as I started to still have friends that would say, hey, can you help me? I would also use my coaching skills to be able to help them. And that evolution came to a place where I saw less and less women in corporate America in that C-suite or in leadership positions. So I volunteered in a lot of leadership programs in the colleges and universities here local to me in Connecticut. And I really wanted other women to know that they have the power, that they can achieve anything they want, that, we don't always feel confident, but if we do the work, we continue to move ahead and forge forward. I don't have any kids, but many of the women that I've encountered are moms, and they want to provide for their kids. They want to show them that what's possible. They dream about the flexibility of being free to spend time with their kids, and I wanted to support them. So when the pandemic came, I already had a plan that within the next 5 years, right, in 2020, I said maybe in 2025, I can start to transition and do my own thing. And I will do that. And then all of a sudden, with COVID-19 hitting, I was laid off. And I thought, okay, what now? And I thought, oh, wait, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out on my own and I'm going to start my business. And for me, one of the biggest mentors I had in my life was my dad.
Mm.
He shared with me one of my favorite quotes by Henry David Thoreau, which is go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you have imagined. And I think that there's a lot of women who dream, but they don't know how to put together the daily steps and actions to not be overwhelmed. To, what do I do first, second, or third? Because a lot of us start doing the wrong things first. And I wanted to be able to help them be able to build a business and life they love. And that's how the business came about.
Wow, that's so inspiring. How was it like mentally for you during that transition, like with COVID hitting and just starting a new business? Was it like, can I do this? Or just like, I got this, I'm pressing forward?
So, as with anything that I do, I go all in. I'm like, okay, this is it. This is what I'm doing. And I went all in. Yes, there's times, and even now with a record of success, there's times in which I will question and I'm like, oh, can I? Am I able to? Am I enough? It doesn't matter what level of success you reach, you will always have that self-doubt. Our brain is programmed to be negative.
Mm-hmm.
80% of the thoughts we think are negative. So our brain still works like that. But in that moment, I was, and I tend to be, I'm that high achiever workaholic, like, let's do it. My husband is the one who would be like, okay, you're done with work.
Yeah.
It's 5 o'clock. Because I could go, can keep going. And I really was committed to building this. And then when I started to work with clients and I started to see the success with clients, I was committed to helping them build what they
Mm.
want for themselves. And even now, like I see clients who say, Julie, this is what I want to do, but I don't even know what to do. I want to be the person that helps them believe in themselves and then create the things that they want. For many clients, they don't know, oh my God, how much should I charge? Or what should I use for email? Or why do I need email? And how do I show up on social media? All of these things are the things that I'm teaching them every day, but I'm teaching them through a place, because anybody can teach you what to use for email, how to do this and how to do that. But I'm also teaching them and helping them with the mindset and the habits so that when they end the day, they can look back and say, oh my God, I was productive. I got this accomplished. I did this. Or hey, I just got some money in my bank and that's what I want. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I go all in, but I still create some of the margin to be able to enjoy the things that I do, enjoy and travel and spend time with the people that I care about.
So it's the work-life balance.
Yeah, and you know what? It's more like a blend.
I love it.
I never want to say that it's a balance because it never will be. It's
Mm-hmm.
always when you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So, for instance, for me this week, if you look at my calendar today and yesterday, my husband just shook his head. He's like, "You're ridiculous." Why? Because I'm going to be speaking at a retreat
Oh,
next
wow.
week. I'm one of the speakers. It is going to be a wonderful time. It's a pajama retreat for women, and they can come and have fun. And we're teaching them how to be able to go after their dreams and make their life matter. But I'm going to be at the beach too during this retreat. And I'm going to probably be having a glass of wine by the pool because we've rented this beautiful house with a chef. And that's my blend, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, this today, my last meeting is at 7 p.m. And
Wow.
it is a tight schedule. And I'm saying no to maybe sitting outside in my yard with a glass of wine today, but I will next week. And that's the blend. And when we're saying yes to one thing at one point, we're saying no to something else. And it's about creating that flow and understanding that, just if you're launching a product or you're launching a course, there's going to be some hustle, but then it's going to get into the flow and then you're going to have more space. So be okay with knowing that you can create that harmony as long as you know your priorities, as long as you are good with your time management and you create those boundaries for yourself.
I agree. I agree. For the longest for me, because as soon as I finished
college. I got my bachelor's, then I went and got my master's. Then I dove straight into entrepreneurship. So there was like no break for me. And I had my daughters, and that was my only focus. My daughters, my business, nothing else. And as like, time passing, your kids growing up, and it's like, I need to take a break for myself, for my mental well-being. Yeah. And I heard one of my mentors tell me, like, because I was like, what is like work-life balance? How do you achieve that? He was like, you never will. The way that he showed it to me was like as if you're juggling. He was like, one of the balls are going to fall, but just make sure you don't leave it on the floor too long. Pick it back up and just kind of routine change things out. And I was like, that makes so much more sense. Being an entrepreneur, a wife, and a mother.
Now I will go a step further, and I am, this is not my original thought. I read about this in a book. And it was, I believe it was a Nicholas Spark romance book, right? But when he was talking about the main character is a woman who was a doctor, but when you're talking about the balls in the air, one of the balls that we're always juggling is going to be made out of glass. And that ball is your health. And that is the one ball that as we're juggling everything else, we have to be careful not to drop, because if we do, it will break. So it's very important to keep an eye on that and to make sure that, maybe you can put it down on the ground, but not let it drop.
That's true.
And then pick it up and don't leave it on the ground for too long. So that's one of the things that I will encourage anyone who is an entrepreneur or a woman. And this is what this retreat is about. Many of the women that are coming to the retreat are entrepreneurs, are career women with a lot of responsibilities. But the reason we host this retreat is because we want to give them the opportunity to take care of themselves, to be able to give and fill. And it's not about filling your cup and then pouring to somebody else. It's about always letting the water just overflow. And then from the overflow of your cup, you then get everybody else's filled. And many of us women are always thinking about, I give an example. Last night, my niece called. And I was in a meeting when she called. She's 10. And I was exhausted after my meeting. And I'm like, I'm going to call her in the morning. I'm like, no, I'll call her now. She needs me. And then really, I did call her last night. And then she wanted something done. And I'm like, I'll do it. And I said yes. But that meant that I didn't go to bed as early as I could have had, right? And that's a choice that I made. And I think that that's what we end up doing as women. So it's very important, and not beating myself up for that or for the things that I don't pour into my own cup. It's not about beating yourself up. But when you see yourself doing it, just bring awareness and say, that was an opportunity to do it differently. Yeah. Okay, now I know. Do better next time, but really creating that flow.
I love that. That was something that I struggled with for the longest, and just constantly beating myself up of like, you didn't do that. Why you didn't do that? You could have did that better. So that was one of the mental things that I had to work on for myself. I love that analogy about the glass ball with. I love that. I'm gonna keep that in mind for myself. Yeah, keep that in.
You can say, I heard that from Julie. She told me about the glass ball.
Yeah. I love it.
It's so good. And one of the things that I teach my clients is that mental fitness and capacity. If you are physically fit and someone asked you to run, a couple miles, it's not going to be extraneous, right? You're like, okay, you may do it. It might take you longer, but depending on your level of fitness, that's how you're going to end that challenge. Now, mental fitness, a lot of us don't have the capacity in mental fitness because our mindset is not where it needs to be. And if we're running a business, a lot of times we don't have that capacity when challenges come, when the 2 mile, we're being asked to run the 2 miles. And that's how we get stuck. So part of my helping clients is helping them create that mental fitness. I'm a mental fitness coach that helps them create that capacity for their lives. And really, for anyone listening, I've done it, you've done it, but stop beating yourself up.
Yeah.
Just, you know what? We're human. notice the behavior and normalize it and say, you know what, I'm normal. I'm not the first person to do, to not accomplish everything I wanted in a day. Okay, it happens. And then normalize it, neutralize it. And okay, and then what's your next best step? What is the next best thing that you can do?
Right. I love it. That so true. So true. I'm gaining nuggets from this myself. The retreat you mentioned, is this a retreat you're doing for within your business or?
The retreat is not my retreat. It is actually hosted by Pearl Chiarenza, who is the woman who founded Women Successful Living. I should know this. She has a podcast called Conversations with Pearl. And Pearl is one of my clients, though.
Okay.
And that's how she invited me. Last year, she invited me to speak at her podcast. And then after speaking, she loved some of the work that I was doing. And she said, would you be a guest speaker? And within the month of us and this is back in April of last year of 2021. And she said, I'm looking for a business coach. Would you work with me? And I've been working with her, and she's leveled up her business. I mean, I'm not going to put word. You can check out Pearl, and you can see what she says about me. But it's not mine. But I do feel a little bit of pride in that retreat as well, because although I'm a speaker, I've seen her blossom, and she's been doing this for a lot longer than she's known me, and she does a wonderful job. But now working together, I see all the things that she is doing to put an experience that it is out of the park for women. And honestly, a lot of women pay for retreats that could be equated to what they would pay to go to Europe. And they're probably not going to get as much as what Pearl is giving them in this weekend. And we have someone that comes and cooks, and you don't have to worry about anything. It's a fun experience.
That's nice. That's nice. I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to come, we still have openings. It's next weekend.
Wow. I'm sure so many women's lives are transformed by that.
I've seen that. I have seen that. And I that's the pleasure of doing what I do, that you see the transformation of someone, and Pearl does an amazing work at teaching women how to have guiltless self-care. She does an amazing work of teaching women to put themselves first. Every week, she hosts the Shiro League, which is, and once a month you can come for free and you can attend and check it out and get a nugget of information. And the Shiro League is a great place for you to really be able to find community, because we can't not be surrounded by the right people. When we surround ourselves with the support and the love and the encouragement, there's so much we can accomplish together.
Yep, that's so true. That is so true. And that's amazing how you guys are working together to do that.
Pearl attended, so I host a retreat as well. It's called, it's a CEO retreat, the Confident You CEO retreat, and it's twice a year.
Okay.
But that is a one-day business retreat, and it is a time for you to come and you get my expertise, and I walk you through how to create the right strategy and plan for your business so that you can then, for the next year, have something in place. You know what you're going to be offering. You know how you're going to market it. You know what you're including in what you're doing for people. You know how to be able to create not only someone that is your client one time, but someone that is able to continually work with you. And here's the thing. The majority of small businesses are owned by women, but 88% of the women-owned businesses make less than $100,000 a year. Think about it, ladies. If you're making $30,000 in your business, and I hope that you know how much you're making in your business, because many women don't even keep track of that. And if you're not keeping track of it, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. But if you're not keeping track of how much money you're bringing in, and you're not making $30,000, I want you to think about, if you had $70,000 more, what would that mean to you to your children, to your families, to the community that you live in? Where would you be able to maybe save for the Disney vacation? Maybe be able to say to your husband, hey, don't take that overtime. Let's go for a nice dinner. Or it's an extra class. So that's what I'm teaching women in my CEO retreat. I'm teaching them to be able to really create that plan that they can say, oh, and honestly, look, I don't know if we're in a video, but this is my plan. Every day I sit down and this is exactly what I teach my clients. This is the plan. You have it in front of you. This is what we talked about. And all you have to do is you don't have to be lost. You can just look down and like, oh, this is what I need to be working on. So
Yeah.
Because we could get distracted. I have ADHD, so I could go, oh, shiny over there, right?
Right. That's amazing. Can you let the listeners that might be interested in a retreat, when is your next CEO retreat?
Yeah, so the next CEO retreat is actually going to be on the 12th, and let me just confirm, the 12th of November, and I run it twice a year. And you know what, Tamara? If any of your listeners are interested and they tell me they come from your retreat, and I'm happy to provide you, I will give it to them for 50% off.
Okay. So we can share a link in the show notes.
We'll share a link. Yeah, absolutely. And I know how transformative my retreat has been for people. And not only because they've told me so, but I know that what I teach is exactly what I use in my business. And that's how I've been able to transform my business as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I might be signing up myself.
Well, my friend, I tell you that, if you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. And that's something that I learned from my dad. It's something that any CEO, and really as a business owner, as the CEO of your life and business, create the plan. Create the plan, because many times we're relying on motivation. We are relying, oh, I don't feel like doing it today. Oh, you know what? I feel terrible about myself. We have hormones. We're women. If it's that time of the month, but we need to be able to have a plan that anchors us to the goals and dreams that we have.
Yes. Yes, we do need a plan to anchor us. You mentioned your dad a couple of times. Was he like an entrepreneur, or anybody else in your family were entrepreneurs?
So my dad was not an entrepreneur. He worked for an NGO, a non-governmental agency that did a lot of work under government contracts around the world. He did a lot of training, and these organizations went in set up similar to, I don't want to say like the Peace Corps, but they would set up like trainings for nurse midwives in remote places in the world where there were no doctors, but maybe mortality rate was very low. So they would train these nurse midwives to come in and help deliver children, or health programming around countries that maybe didn't have such health programs. So he helped to devise and train and hire the staffing that would go into those programs. But he was a phenomenal business mind, and he really helped to coach and mentor me and build me. And he ultimately, and this is what we need from somebody, we need someone to believe in us. There's a concept that a friend of mine, and actually in my book, I talk about Valerie. She taught me a concept called believing mirrors. We don't always believe enough in ourselves. But if we have someone that believes enough for the two of us, then we can accomplish what we want. And as a coach, that's a little bit of what I do for people, is I help them and I mirror to them their gifts, their talents, their abilities, so that in those moments that they don't think they can do it, they can have enough of the support that they can go out and continue that consistent action. As far as other family members, my grandmother was a very strong, this is my mom's mom. She was a very strong woman. She was born in the early 1900s, and that's obviously not a lot of women were business owners, but she wanted to go to school. She wanted to teach. She lived in El Salvador, and she came from a well-to-do family, and that's just not done, right? Women at that time, if they came from certain social circles, they were expected to get married married, have a nice house. But my grandmother was very independent. She didn't marry until she was in her 40s. And she wanted to make an impact, educate kids, because she knew that education was one of the keys in being able to then get to the next level, open up choices for them. And her father didn't want her to work outside the home because that was not the thing, right? In 1930s. So he built her a school.
Wow.
And so my grandmother worked at her school, and when my great-grandfather died, she took over as being the principal of the school. But it was also a business. She had to make a profit so that she can cover expenses, pay teachers, get supplies. And so I learned from an early age watching her. But I watched two different things. I watched someone who ran a successful enterprise, right? But I also watched that she felt very strongly that if she had a lot of something, service was at the core of what she did. And that's been one of the values that's been passed on to me. So for me, that's one of the things that in working with people, I feel very adamant about. I want to make it possible for people to take advantage of what I offer. So that's why I have free stuff, and I have courses, and I have masterminds or master classes. And I also have obviously the paid offers, and there's different ways in which people can work with me. But my
And the
main
podcast.
goal, and the podcast, and my main goal is to just provide service, value, educate, inspire others so that they can go in their own journey to confidence and to live the life they have imagined and to live the life and business of their dreams, honestly.
That's so amazing. I'm taking notes. I love the story of your grandmother. That's so inspiring. And even, you having the opportunity to just kind of watch her, during their journey. That's amazing.
And we don't always, as children, and that's why I do what I do, because if the women that work with me can then show an example to those behind them, then the kids that are coming behind them are going to say, oh, it's possible. I saw my mom, I saw my aunt do that. And that's how we create that ripple effect for everyone.
Oh, that's always been one of the things that I've wanted for my daughters, for them to be able to see how hard I'm working. The sacrifices I'm making isn't just to be away, but it's just to create a legacy for you guys, to create generational wealth so you can see how to have multiple streams of income.
Yeah, 100%. I'm so glad that that's one of your aims, because we need to have them. And I bet you that your daughters have friends and maybe will look to you and say, I saw what she did. I can do that too. And we need to, I'm a woman of color. I'm a brown girl. So I want other little brown girls to see that, you can climb the corporate ladder. You can get to the C-suite. You can build a successful business. You can travel around the world if you want. All you have to do is have the plan and work the plan.
Yes, that's so true. Thank you so much, Julie, for joining us on today. So we know that you have the upcoming retreat. I'm going to list all of her links in the show notes, you guys. The podcast, because I want you guys to check that out. I got the opportunity to listen to a couple of episodes as well. And so we'll list those on the show notes. Is there anything else that you would like to leave with us on today?
One of the biggest things that I'm going to ask the listeners is that in the moments that you are feeling like you are not doing it, or in the moments that you feel like I don't even know what to do, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and find that believing mirror that is going to remind you of the greatness that you have inside you, that somebody else needs. And if you're thinking, I don't think I can do it, just think of the person who would benefit from you putting out your goodness into the world.
Yes, that's so true. Ladies, take note. Thank you once again, Julie, for joining us on the Wealth and Wellness podcast.
All women rock, and wealth and wealth and wellness. I'm getting tongue tied. I need a drink of coffee right now. But thank you for having me. What a fun conversation. I appreciate you so much and everything that you do. Keep doing it.
I will.
I told you that was going to be a power-packed episode. As I was going back over the podcast and doing the editing for this episode, I remember her saying, if you had 70,000 more, what would that mean for you and your family? If you had $70,000 more, what would that mean for you and your family? We need a plan that anchors us to help us with our goals and dreams we have. And actually this morning, I don't think it was by coincidence, but this morning during my devotion, I was actually reading Proverbs 20. I like to have my keyword study Bible available that helps understand what certain words mean in Greek as well as in Hebrew. I also have my New Living Translation out too. Before you try to skip over this part, this is not a sermon by chance, but just stick with me. I got to Proverbs 20 verse 5, and it says, a plan in the heart of a man is like a deep water, but a man of understanding draws it out. And then I went on a little bit further to verse 18 that says, prepare plans by consultation and make war by wise guidance. And I was like, plan? That's came up twice. Let me see what that word means in the keyword study Bible. And I saw that it is a feminine noun. A feminine noun. So I was like, that's not by coincidence. Ladies, we need to have a plan in place. We need a plan for our life. We need a plan for our business. There has to be a plan, or else we're just wandering around. And we do need to be anchored, because none of this is easy, but we need to have a plan in place. It's so, so important. So my question to you right now is, what plan do you have in place? What plan do you have in place for your life? What plan do you have in place for your business? And it's not often we try to say, oh, I'm going to just enjoy the holidays, or once I get past this point, then I create something. How often do we actually do that? We get so hyped up at the end of the year, the beginning of the year, and then when things do not go as we plan, we forget the plan. We start something new, or we let it go altogether. There has to be a tipping point where we say, you know what? No matter what, I will remain consistent. Life is not perfect. Things will happen to us. But we have to be anchored to know there's purpose behind this. I have to be consistent. So I want to encourage each and every one of you, create a plan. Create a plan. It doesn't matter. It won't be perfect, but just have something in place for yourself. And think about what she said. What would that mean for you and your family if you had $70,000 more? Think about it. As I say, let it marinate for a moment. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the Wealth and Wellness podcast. The links have been listed in the show notes. Ladies, I want you to go over to Julie's website. Go to Julie's website. The link has been listed. And be sure to tell her that All Women Rock sent you. Like, hey, I listened to your episode on the Wealth and Wellness podcast. It was so impactful. Go to her social media pages as well. Share love. The only way that we create unity as women is when we support one another. It's not always about paying something or purchasing something, but just say, hey, that helped me. Or if you're interested in being a part of her different retreats that she have, or signing up for her course, or whatever it is that she may have, go ahead and do it. We have to support one another. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the Wealth and Wellness podcast. And please subscribe, leave us a comment. And I can't wait for you guys to get started and hear Meeting in the Ladies' Room. Until next time, bye.